Last week, a group of 15 youth from across the country filed a lawsuit against the federal government over what they feel is an inadequate response to the climate crisis. The youth, who range in age from 10 to 19 years old, allege the government has violated their charter rights to life, liberty, and security. We're joined now by one of those teens, 19-year-old Sophia Sidarous. She's Mi'kmaq and a member of the Metepenagiag First Nation in New Brunswick. She lives in Gatineau, Quebec now, and she joins us from our Ottawa bureau. We're also joined by Stephen Cornish, the CEO of the David Suzuki Foundation, which is supporting the youth in their lawsuit. Sophia, let's begin with you. How do you feel that the government is infringing on your charter rights, and why is a lawsuit the way to address that?
I think there needs to be different levels of action that needs to be taken place, and I think the youth wanted to be heard. So a lawsuit is directly asking the government to take action, and we're asking for a science-based recovery plan based on the best available science.
And can you tell us a little bit of a few of the ways that some of the youth involved in this lawsuit feel that their lives have been impacted by climate change?
Yeah, so a few of the other plaintiffs, one has Lyme disease, the other one has asthma, and I think there were a few other health implications that the youth plaintiffs had. So we're all impacted various ways. I'm not impacted by my health, but definitely my cultural ability to practice my culture. So like practicing fishing for salmon, and the salmon is almost extinct now because of the low levels, and so is the moose. So my cultural ways have been infringed.
Stephen, how and why did the David Suzuki Foundation get involved in this?
Well, we've been absolutely humbled to get involved in this and to help lift up these 15 young people from across the country. They're from Maritimes to the West Coast, all the way up to the north. And we feel that it's time that Canadians heard from these young leaders to know that climate change is affecting them today. And we believe all Canadians would want to protect their health, their livelihoods, and their security going into the future. And we're just not seeing enough change. We're seeing small steps being taken when we need big steps. This past year, we were told by the International Panel on Climate Change we had 10 years to turn things around, and we're still seeing dithering. So we believe that we have to take this movement from the streets to the courts to be able to set a real ceiling and get us on track.
And what would a victory mean in this case then, Stephen? If you guys are successful, where do we go from there?
Well, what it would mean is that the courts would set a target according to science and say to the government that they have to set a climate remediation plan. And this would then depoliticize the issue. It would no longer be partisan. It wouldn't be left or right. It would just be a human rights issue. And then all successive governments would have to take the types of measures we need to see in order to guarantee the future for our children and for future generations to come.
And last question to you, Sophia. What would a victory mean to you if you guys are successful?
I think a victory would mean that the courts take us seriously, and that this is a serious issue that my generation is being impacted on, and we demand action.
I thank you guys both very much for joining us. This is very interesting. We'll be watching this as it winds its way through the courts.
Thank you.
Thanks for following this story. It's very important.